The towers have been polished and prepared for our third event in the league, the Tandem race. Teams descend down these towers hoping to get the fastest time, but here is the twist. The time it takes between the first marble finishing and the last marble finishing will add to that team's time. So individual marbles that go too fast will actually be punished. So that in mind, this event is more about sticking together than it is about speed, although speed does play a part in it. Snookers so far doing a great job of sticking together, unlike the other three teams in this round, the Celestials, the Blueberries, and the Rising Storm. Celestials, their first marble seems to be 2 ramps ahead. That is going to be quite a big gap. Just like with the relay race, the top 2 teams will be moving on. So far, it looks like the Snookers are going to be in that top 2, but who will join them? The Blueberries or the Rising Storm? The Rising Storm are going to have their first marble finish before the Blueberries, but their last marble is also in front of the Blueberries group. So who knows how the maths is going to shake out. And it is the Rising Storm that advance along with the Snookers by 1 second and 3/10. Next round, we've got the Green Snakes, the Bottom Dreaders, the Gothic Ghouls, and the Red Devils going now. Bottom Dreaders off to a pretty good start. Green Snakes, Gothic Ghouls, and Red Devils, once again, that leading marble is getting away from the rest of the group, but the same thing is happening to the Bottom Dreaders now that I look at that second tower. This is anyone's game at the moment. Gothic Ghouls seem to be interestingly sprawled out at the moment. Now that the leading marble is gone, perhaps they are adopting a different strategy of trying not to get into each other's way so that the final marble can finish quicker. Bottom Dreaders and Green Snakes having their leading marbles finishing first. Then it's going to be the Gothic Ghouls, then the Red Devils. Red Devils are looking like they're going to have the smallest gap. But I can't make any presumptuous opinions. We'll have to see how the official results turn out. And I'm completely wrong. It's the Green Snakes and the Bottom Dreaders that advance. Moving on now, it's the Winemakers, Daytime Dreamers, Magentas, and the Summer Runners. And off they go. Daytime Dreamers and Magentas so far at a good start. Daytime Dreamers having that... Oh, I was going to say that marble at the back was lagging behind. Look at the Winemakers. Look at that interesting formation. Almost every single marble from the Winemakers is completely separated. Perhaps that's working to their advantage as they're not colliding with each other at all and slowing each other down. The Winemakers as a group are actually ahead of the other 3 teams. We'll see how this strategy works out for them because it seems pretty risky. They're building up quite a large gap. Summer Runners also getting a pretty big gap there as well. Magenta's looking like they're going to finish as a group before the Daytime Dreamers. And we'll see how the results are. Who will move on? And it's the Winemakers and the Magentas. The Winemakers, despite having a gap penalty of 6 seconds, actually won in that group. And now for the final heat in this first round. Cherubs, Tumbling Lemons, Rainbow Rollers, and the Foresters, Tumbling Lemons, so far looking pretty good. So far it's always been that second tower. But now that leading marble is getting away from the Tumbling Lemons, it's anyone's game once again. Every single team's leading marble is inescapably ahead of the pack as they move down into the 10th slope or the 9th, depending on which marble you are. And the Tumbling Lemons are actually having a second marble break away from the group. Could that be for better or for worse, since they're already building up a gap anyway? Perhaps it's better that they're not getting into each other's way. They are already getting a gap, whether they like it or not. But at this point, I have no idea who actually won in that group. it's the Rainbow Rollers and the Foresters that make it. Big gaps for all 4 teams. And it looks like the Snookers were the best in that first round this time. And now in our first semi-final round, we have the Snookers, Rising Storm, Green Snakes, and the Bottom Dwellers over onto the right. The Rising Storm, so far, seem to be doing a good job of sticking together. It's always that second tower from the left, it looks like, even though these towers should all be functionally identical. Snookers, Green Snakes, and the Bottom Dwellers seem to be building up pretty big gaps as the Rising Storms seem to be inseparable. They're almost guaranteed a spot in the final round. Snookers look like their first marble. No, it's actually going to be the Bottom Dwellers that have their first marble finish before the Snookers. But the Bottom Dwellers also appear to be faster as a group. We'll see how this pans out. Who will join the Rising Storm? Will it be the Snookers or the Bottom Dwellers? It's an interesting situation because the Snookers and the Bottom Dwellers are both currently top 2 overall, and it's the Bottom Dwellers that make it to the final round along with the Rising Storm. Snookers and Green Snakes are knocked out as we move on to the other semi-final, the Winemakers, Magentas, Rainbow Rollers, and the Foresters, and off they go. Magentas, to see the speed of that first marble, but it ends up bouncing back onto the first slope, and now they are sticking together. Once again, the second tower is proving to be the best tower. But now they're starting to make some mistakes. That last marble from the Magentas is starting to lag behind. Winemakers building up quite a large gap now. But they're seem to be unable to pull off the same strategy they did in round 1. Those last 2 marbles are still together. But once again, they seem to be the fastest overall as a group compared to the other 3 teams. But again, I can't make any presumptuous judgments. We'll just have to see how the results are. And it's the Magentas and the Winemakers moving on to the final. Winemakers with a gap penalty of 9.97. That is, the gap penalty just seems to be getting bigger and bigger. But we have our final 4 marbles, and actually 3 of those teams were the same ones in the final round of Event 1, the relay race. And both events are team-based races. But now we'll see how this final shapes out. Who will get the gold? It looks like the Bottom Dwellers and the Magentas are doing a good job of sticking together. The Rising Storm and the Winemakers are struggling. Seems to be displaying some good teamwork from the Bottom Dwellers, but the Magentas showing some minor mistakes that is costing them a bit of time. They're holding each other up a bit. Meanwhile, Bottom Dwellers are showing much more efficiency. If they continue on like this, they're going to get the gold for sure. The Magentas need to step it up if they are going to have any hope of dethroning the Algodoo League reigning champions. But the Bottom Dwellers are 1 whole slope ahead of the Magentas, but the Magentas are starting to catch up. The leading marble is getting there, but it's not the leading marble that matters. It's the final marble, and that's it. That is the final round of the tandem race. And if that turned out like I think it turned out, then yes, we have a 2-time winner in 3 events. The Bottom Dwellers once again proving opposite to their name and actually finishing in 48.1. That looks like the fastest time overall. Oh my goodness. You can't make this up. Oh, but the lead remains elusive. The Snookers are still 3 points ahead of the Bottom Dwellers. That poor performance in Event 2 has cost the Bottom Dwellers the lead so far. Will they be able to take it back from the Snookers? Tune in for more as we find out what happens in the Basin Hop.